Greetings and welcome to the Rock and Roll podcast. Check out this record. My name is Mark, and with me, as always, is one half Greek, one half Italian, three halves Wolfman. He's barking at the moon. You can call him Frankie D.
That's right. You know, once I was in class where people had to say what animal we reminded them of.
Mhm.
And this is, of course, when I had hair. And a wolf was one of them, along with a Sasquatch. So,
Okay.
you know, I don't know.
Okay. Welcome to check out this record. We're actually available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you found us. Heck, we're even on the world famous TubeU, baby.
We are. Absolutely, guys. And new episodes, they will drip and they will drop directly to your ears. And of course, we're going to rip what you hold sacred. All this is for your listening pleasure, just so everybody knows.
Yeah. For the uninitiated here, welcome here. Check out this record. Frank and I find records for each other to, check out, track by track and tell you what we really think about them. But that's not all. Oh, no. We also have a wide array of musical discussions, like in our Spotlight series, where we'll dig into a band's catalog, like a couple of grave robbers, and see what's worth a damn and what's just, your grandma's shitty bones.
Or in our verse series, we're going to pit two albums, sometimes three, against each other. They're going to duke it out for total stereo domination.
That's right. Now, if social media is your Jimmy Jam, be sure to check us out on the Instagram or the Fart Book, where we have a group thingamajig. So the musical roasting of your sacred cows, or the roasting of your musical sacred cows, never has to end. So mark yourself safe from shitty music and give us a like or a follow or whatever it is you do when you're not trying to convince yourself you hustle as hard as anyone else from your couch.
And don't forget to pop on over, of course, that world famous TubeU. Watch us make these silly faces, and we try to put the show together. Literally, like I'm trying to figure out how to put the show together.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have exclusive content coming, and you don't want to miss. Blah 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 blah. Fire off a click on and the old subscribe button, comment, all that good stuff. Mark.
That's right. This week, Frank and I are diving into another live album, this time Strung Out's 2003 Live in the Dive, released by Fat Records.
Beautiful.
It's a monster double LP, 21 tracks covering a ton of the first half of the band's career. Frank, Strung Out is one of the old school Fat Record bands. Their debut, Another Day in Paradise, is often criticized for having that early fat sound that seemed to all the bands had. That's far from describing how they sound on the record today, and certainly a lifetime away from how they sound now. My question to you is, how would you describe them to someone who's never heard of them?
Great question. And real quick, is that color vinyl that you have there?
The color black.
Yeah. There you go. All right, there you go. So I think what we were talking about the other day could fit best because of really how the bulk of their catalog is. And that's like an alternative metal with hints of punk. It's like you're too punk for metal, and some might say too metal for punk. That's the best way I could describe it to maybe someone who would have no idea, never heard of the band name, doesn't know anything about Fat Wreck, doesn't know about all that stuff.
Yeah. So the band hasn't changed much member-wise since their 1989 foundation in Simi Valley, California.
Wow.
Playing for us live at Chain Reaction in Anaheim on September 30th and October 1st of 2002. We have Jason Cruz on vocals, Jake Killey on guitar and backing vocals, Rob Ramos on guitar and backing vocals, Chris Atkin on bass, taking over as bassman in '99 for founding member Jim Cherry, who unfortunately would later pass away in 2002. And they actually paid tribute to him on the record, which is really nice. And Jordan Bums, great name, on the drums, Bums on drums. He was a member from 93 to 2018, not the OG drummer, but he's literally on all of the records except for 2019's Songs of Armor and Devotion. Frank, are you ready to jackknife a double gainer into this swan of a live album?
Let's fillet the fish, my good man.
All righty. Track one, Too Close to See, from 98's Twisted by Design. Frank, one of my favorite things about seeing a band live is hearing the crowd go nuts as they begin to build up and the singer pulls the crowd just right in. Everyone's screaming and cheering, and like an explosion, the concert is just underway.
Yeah.
This is such an energetic song to open with, really setting the tone for the rest of the sets in the album. What do you think of this choice for an opener?
I mean, perfect choice. And, it's the first tune I heard when you burned me, Twisted by Design, many, many moons ago.
Nice.
And that's what got me into the band. It's a great opener, perfect build up and a climax. Hey, now. And I couldn't think of a better really song to start off with at this point, of course, in their catalog right now. So perfect song, perfect choice. Boom.
Track 2, Monster from 96's Suburban Wasteland Blues. Man, I love just that pulsing bass intro, right? You can hear the entire place just get into it and start singing along. Frank, this song isn't about an energy drink, but it sure does bring the energy. What are your thoughts on Monster?
With regards to the drink, I've probably, believe it or not, only had one in my life.
Yeah, I've had enough for both of us. That's okay.
All right, so good. So we're good. However, it's great how they didn't actually like dive right into another fast-paced intro song. Like they let the crowd simmer down for a minute, and then they totally cooked them again. So I thought that was smart placement.
Excellent. Track 3, Ultimate Devotion, another one from Twisted by Design. Great transition right into those heavy ass, super chunky palm muted guitars. This one's a personal favorite of mine, and I was always surprised to hear it this early in the set when I first hear it, but man, did they crush it. Frank, is your Devotion Ultimate?
I am a devoted maniac, just so everybody knows. I remember this being one of your favorites on the disc when you gave it to me specifically. I do like how they placed it early on, and I think it's cool actually to hear the live version too, because it has a little more oomph to it. So,
yeah. Track 4, The Kids, off of 2002's An American Paradox. They go as far as to call this one The Kids. It's got this fast, heavy, bombastic opening into like just that razor sharp guitar. Strung Out really showing they've got the goods when it comes to technical playing abilities. And American Paradox got mixed reviews because the record was a bit of a split between the band's metal tendencies, I think as we'll say, and as Frank described, their punk roots. For me, I think they're straddling that line and making their own. And The Kids is a perfect example of that. Really happy to hear it live on the Live in a Dive release. Frank, tell me about them kids.
Well, I really just like my kids, and everyone else's could be dealt with by their own parents. So I mean, that's just my thoughts. Anyway, this is a song that really puts punk and metal in the coffee mug, and they mix it with protein powder and sugar-free sweetener, because that's how I take mine. Okay. And it's a really cool track. I think the studio version, they're really good. So I like how it's that mix of both those.
Very nice. Track 5, Every Day, off of 2000's EP, The Element of Sonic Defiance. Probably one of their releases I'm the least familiar with from this time period. But man, I have to tell you, there is some absolutely killer soloing here, and the crowd is just eating it up. Frank, Every Day.
Yeah. So I was also familiar with this at the time, when I bought it. But the minute I heard this, I gravitated to the song's intensity right away. This is a really good track. Really good track.
Very nice. Track 6, Population Control, from the band's 94 debut album, Another Day in Paradise. And I have to tell you, I love how they play the old school numbers here. At this point of the album, 8-ish, 9-ish years. The album, is 8-ish, 9-ish years old, and their approach to all of these songs is far more, I'm going to use the word muscular. You can really hear that tone has developed.
I agree.
Since they recorded it. They clearly have a better understanding of how to make these songs just absolutely rip compared to back when they recorded the album all those years ago. Is that just me, buddy?
Well, fitting title on recent events, I'd say. But yes, it's like they were able to metal it up our asses just a little more. And I like when bands do this because it shows.
Fuck, you got me.
I know, right?
Sorry, go on.
I had you at fitting. But anyway, it's like they progressed really, really well here. And muscular is such a good way to do it, because it's like you have the original version, which is really cool, but then you have this amplified version that's even more mature. So yeah, good job there.
Track 7, Velvet Alley. We return to an American Paradox here. Remember, at the time, this was the album, their latest album that they had just finished touring, and I think this was included because they wanted to mix more songs from that album, which makes sense. But I think this is probably one of those tracks that I might have swapped for something like Reason to Believe off of Twisted by Design. But that's just me playing fantasy set list. Nothing wrong with this song, just one of those ones where I go, this is a low light in an album without any lowlights. Would have seen something different for me personally. But Frank, what are your thoughts?
I know it's a fan favorite song, and I get that, but you're right. A lot of these tracks here from American Paradox are to promote the record because that's the most recent. I would have taken DeVille or Mind of My Own here from Twisted by Design, so I would totally be down with that swapping out.
Yeah. Track 8, Bring Out Your Dead, Subterranean Wasteland Blues. I've always loved how dramatic this song is. They do a great job of translating that drama here to the stage. It always reminds me of that Nick Cage movie of the same name. Yeah. It has that same kind of like wonderfully frantic energy. Frank, will you be bringing out your dead?
Yeah, I mean, I know that movie, so I can totally see what you're talking about here. This is their Halloween song, and if you ask me, the world could use more Halloween songs because it's an underrated holiday.
Absolutely, great track too. Track 9, Rotten Apple. Going back to Subterranean Wasteland Blues again. Man, I love when they bring that kind of breakneck punk rock speed and combine it with their metal influence. Frank, we're 9 tracks in. How you holding up? How you liking the show so far?
Yeah, holding up well, man. I would have liked another tune from Twisted by Design here, but it's a live album. Hey, it comes with the territory.
Sure. Track 10, Claustrophobic. That's Claw with a K. The band's track from the Short Music for Short People comp. Frank, it seems like Jason is singing more about the fear of being closed in by another person more than enclosed in an actual space, which makes me wonder, you got any phobias?
Too many to count, man. But luckily we do this show and have music in general, so that keeps them at bay. That's all I got to say. Good. I can't think of many instances where bands played their 30-second songs from that particular comp, so it's pretty cool. We get a live version of that.
Yeah. Track 11, Lost Motel. This is a B-side that wouldn't otherwise be easily found until 2009's Prototypes and Painkillers, a collection of B-sides and rarities. Man, I remember the first time I heard this track and I was like, what the fuck? What album is this on? This song is fucking awesome. It's an absolutely killer song about trying to find a better place in the world instead of making it where you are and grappling with that. So happy they put all these otherwise hard to find numbers on the album. Frank, would you tell the people just how fucking rad this song is?
So it's my favorite Strung Out song and one of my favorite all-time songs, like no lie. I'm talking like top 50 here if I had to make a list.
Yeah.
The fact that this is a B-side is just absolutely crazy to me. Such an amazingly written song, and the studio version could almost be better because I think in the verses there's a little more guitar intensity. Regardless, the ending and the build-up when Jason sings "I'm halfway home," that just touches to the core, man. And it reminds me of a book I recently read and I highly recommend called The Midnight Library.
Oh,
yeah. So
stick around for our next podcast. Check out this book. Track 12.
Be just time travel books, but there you go.
I mean, hey, that's what we're into. These people don't care that we only do punk rock. Track 12, Razor Sex from An American Paradox. This might be my favorite song off of American Paradox, by the way. That crazy intro, the breakneck speed, that feeling of like bombs dropping in for the bridge. I'm not sure what you call that part. I think it's the bridge. They do it twice, but it's just a badass part. Look, I was a drummer. I don't know a lot of technical words for songwriting. And I love they use the way they use the two vocal parts that in the verse that then come together as a harmony for the chorus. Really cool. Frank, just talk to me, brother.
Yeah, it's funny. I thought instead of breakneck, you put bareback since the song had sex in the title. So I was like, all right. Listen, song is that black, red, and white turn that the band did that carried them really into the records after this. So I think that's one of those tracks where literally that turn was taken, not only of course, the musical style, but just the overall ambiance of the band. Great edgy and melodic song, man. What can I tell you?
Track 13, Support Your Troops, off Another Day in Paradise. We're going back to that first album. Textbook, short and fast political number from the early days. That I will admit does sound a bit like Lagwagon in places, or maybe Lagwagon sounds like this song in places. But I really don't mind. I get why people would poo-poo it for them, but to me, it just works. It's a cool song. Frank, poo-poo?
Well, not necessarily poo-poo, but it's another spot where I would have liked a track from Twisted by Design, because I like that album so much. I mean, there's a certain quality, of course, you get with these songs regardless, but this almost feels out of place because they're on the cusp of what's to come kind of after this record. So that's the only reason why I say that.
Sure. Well, speaking of Twisted by Design, track 14, Barfly, a heart-wrenching number about being held captive by our vices, played at, again, bareback speed, Frank.
Thank you.
Have I told you how fast this band is and how good they are at going just absolutely balls to the wall fast? They're just so fucking good at it. Frank, if you were a fly on the wall, would you be a barfly, or are you going somewhere else?
I mean, perhaps. I love seeing a good train wreck, and what better place to do it than a bar, right? Man, they're just so fast, and songs like this will make me wish we could have achieved that fastness when we were in the band.
Yeah, well, I think it's part of where that metal blends into the punk rock, right? It just really, that muscle that it takes to go that fast consistently and in a cohesive way without everything falling apart and still being able to do cool shit over it. Like,
I agree.
It's so tough. People just think like, oh, they're just going fast because they can't do anything else, and it's like,
no,
these guys are taking it to a technical level, and it's really cool.
Yeah, there's intent.
Absolutely. Track 15, Savant. I was really worried I wasn't going to say that word right. It's spelled odd. Like, it's one of those words where you're like, is it Savant?
Yeah, right.
No, but it's Savant. I'm Mark. I can read. Thanks, Hooked on Phonics. Another track from Elements of Sonic Defiance EP. Frank, I read the lyrics for this song, and man, heavy. Check these out. To save face and deny, you've lost your chance for a better way. Assassinate the threat, immortalize the corpse, write a book about the show, and sell it back to the source. Riddle me this, and I'll share your world around. Hang me on your wall, and I'll bring your hurt down. Frank, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, I know. I remember reading one time that Jason released a book of poetry, and this reads just like poetry. Very metal with the verbiage. As far as what's going on, I don't know. I mean, Savant is like a learned person, right? Like a scientist. So it could be just a struggle here with discoveries, and maybe those that oppose it or that are an obstacle, or maybe the person's the obstacle. Your guess is as good as mine, brother.
For sure. Track 16. This one's going to be tough for me. Exhumation. Where they exhumation of Virginia Madison. Right? I did spell check it just to make sure I wasn't going to like, am I saying this word wrong? It's one of like, you just don't see it in that format very often. It's off of Twisted by Design, a strung out love song, as they call it here on the record. About killing your lover, then burying her on the edge of town, just to go home and put on your Sunday vest and return to bury yourself next to her. It's crazy how morbid this song is and how clean and wonderful these harmonies are. It's really fucking crazy. Frank, this has been a longtime favorite of mine also. How about yourself?
Yeah, and then the live version, what's cool is they do the slower intro verse, and then it revs up. On the album version, it gets right into the the speed. Another fan favorite, obviously, and I could totally see why.
Yeah. Track 17, In Harm's Way, Another Day in Paradise here again. Classic Strung Out. They crush it. I love the heavy fake out riff here we get. What says you, Frankadoo?
Yeah, I remember this being on a comp. I can't remember which one. Was it Fat Music for Fat People?
I think it was like no, I want to say it was like 2, maybe, I don't know. Life in the
What?
Fat
Okay.
Lane. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Maybe
Survival
one
of
of
the Fattest.
those.
It was one of those early ones.
Okay. Classic though for sure. And you could tell by this track alone, they had all the potential here.
Yeah. Track 18, Don't Look Back.
Don't do it.
A B-side from An American Paradox, which otherwise can be found on that 2009 Prototypes and Painkillers. Not sure why this one hadn't been on the proper album. They talk about in the show that the first 10,000 CDs got it, but that was it. This song is amazing. Totally should have been on the proper album. Frank, your thoughts?
I mean, they're writing so many good B-sides here that they could just brag about it the way Oasis did for all those years and saying they don't write shitty songs and that's why they're like this. I mean, it's crazy. It's amazing how someone could hear these songs like and be like, this is incredible. And maybe someone heard something else to be like, well, this needs to be a B-side. It totally should have been an album track. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Track 19, Cult of the Subterranean from An American Paradox. You definitely know why this one made the album. The band says this one's about freedom of imagination, freedom to do whatever the fuck you got to do to get by. I mean, classic punk rock ethos of feeling like the other and needing to stand up for yourself rather than fall in line with what society tells you. I mean, it doesn't get much more straight up punk rock ethos than that. Right.
Yep.
Frank, musically, we're hearing the band get far more technical with their song structures. Does it work for you here, blending those two concepts?
Yeah, because they actually have the abilities to do so, right? They have the musical chops to execute. I mean, I'll hear all these sounds in my head, and I'll try to then emulate them on the guitar. I can't do it, so they did exactly what they set out to do. So I think they just needed some time to figure it out.
Cool. Just let me know if you start hearing any voices in there.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Track 20, Bark at the Moon from Ozzy Osbourne's 1983 classic of the same name. As a kid who grew up on Sabbath and Ozzy's early stuff, this was a total treat for me. Frank, what do you think of the cover? And if you were picking a song for Strung Out to do as a cover on the album, what would you have picked?
It's a great cover. And I mean, for a band like Strung Out, to have this to be basically kind of the heavy metal and the punk and dark, I think the first person that comes to mind, right, is that Ozzy Sabbath time frame of songs. So to me, like, that was a really logical choice. Misfits could work too, but the thing is, their songs were too short for a band like this. And I think actually Strung Out shines when those songs are like the close to 3-minute range or 3.5 minutes. And well, not many Misfits songs are like that. So
no, most Misfits albums are like 3.5.
Right, exactly.
Track 21, Matchbook, to close, from Twisted by Design. One of the things I love about this band is the way they're able to do some of that pop punk before it was like the cliche of pop punk, especially that Twisted by Design era. It's not emo, but it's honest and introspective without being cheesy. I love it as the closer. Don't Look Back in Anger. It's just a memory.
Yeah.
Lyrics that just absolutely made me fall in love with this band. Frank?
It's crazy because it's one of the more popular tunes, and it's almost an outlier for how pop punk it is. It's not emo by any means. Well, late 90s, early 2000s emo, that is. Maybe if this came out during like Rites of Spring, maybe it would have been classified as such. Regardless, it's a killer song, killer closer, one of their more popular songs. So
yeah, man, just what a show, what 2 nights combined into one great show. Would you give us your final thoughts on the album, and should our listeners check out this record?
Yeah, well, to no surprise, yes, they should check it out. I bought this the day it came out, and it was really great to revisit this. There are so many tunes on here that really reflect the band in the first half of their career. This live album is placed perfectly in the middle. Because that metal that we've been speaking of will be coming soon. And the band really hasn't taken a look back, which is crazy. I feel like this record was almost the closing of those early records. You could tell they wanted to get darker, faster, and more technical, which segues really kind of if you're a punk fan, kind of into the metal world. So many good songs on here. Too Close to See the Kids, Everyday Devotion, Ultimate Devotion, and of course my favorite, Lost Motel, and a plethora of others. If I had to be constructive on something, Mark, I would have liked more songs maybe from Twisted by Design, and of course the recording. I've listened to it in the headsets, the cars. Doesn't sound sometimes as clear as like the No Use for a Name Live in the Dive, and then the Lagwagon that would come after this. However, listen, that doesn't really make a dent and impact that, because the songs and the band are awesome. 8.5 out of 5 for me. Just a fantastic record.
8.5 out of 5, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. 8.5 out of wow, it was that good. 8.5. Yeah, 8.5 out of 10.
Oh man. Yeah, one of my absolute favorite things about this performance is how well it's captured. At the time, it's a little too loud in some spots. There's a
right. That's what it is, like you said.
Yeah. There's brief moments of feedback, but for me that adds that feeling of really being back in like a shitty little club in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And it feels, in that aspect, it gives it a little bit more authenticity to me, but I totally get your argument. The crowd is loud and dumb, and the band interacts with them the way you would hope they would, right? Like just kind of making fun of them for saying stupid shit. And like, I used to love that about going to shows back then, and just having bands being real with you.
Yeah.
For a 21 song set, clocking in over an hour long. And yes, I'm aware it was 2 shows taped together, but it moves. Every song keeps you engaged, and it never feels like it's gone on for too long. Sure, I may have swapped out a song or two, just like Frank, but like, I really liked the song choice. They really did a great job of making sure they had a little something from everything. Too Close to See, Monster, Ultimate Devotion, The Kids, Bring Out Your Dead, Lost Motel, Barfly, Savant, Virginia Madison, Don't Look Back, Colt, and Matchbook. I mean,
yeah, the whole thing.
That's half the damn album, and they're all highlights. Just killer live album.
Yep.
This is a 9 out of 10 for me. Check out this record. If you're not familiar with the band, phenomenal place to start.
Not a 9 out of 5, right? 9 out of 10.
Right, 9 out of 10. It was that good. Tell me, old chum, what do you have in the old bucket for us next week?
All right. So listen, Mark, I know one of your goals was always to meet me in St. Louis.
Was it?
No, not at all. Okay. I didn't know how to segue into it. So I've been deep diving into stuff for a while, and not many bands that really encompass the math standpoint, right? So we're gonna do a little math rock here. Okay.
I have no idea. Okay, math rock. Okay.
We're gonna do math rock, and the band is called Meet Me in St. Louis. It was after a Judy Garland movie. They're actually not around anymore. But this is a 2015 release, and the album is called Variations on Swing. Okay.
Okay.
So it is going to be a little bit of a challenge, and I'll tell you why. Because the songs are that musically intense, and it's switching every maybe 30 seconds, and sometimes you may find one piece of a song that you like, and you're like, oh, they moved away from it, and now they're never going back, because that's how the music is. So I think it's gonna be a challenge, maybe even for both of us. I like some of the songs on there, but you have to listen to this like a bunch of times really to get a good feel for it. So
cool.
They're a band, they're from England. They're not around anymore. The technicality of it I found to be really interesting, and I wanted your thoughts on it. So Meet Me in St. Louis.
I got to tell you, every year my in-laws and my wife make me watch old Christmas movies.
Yeah.
And I've seen this one 2 or 3 times, and I don't understand the appeal to it, but I'm interested to see what a band named after it's going to sound like. And I learned to play the drums in the drum set in jazz band in middle school, so I'm really interested to see. Variations on Swing has my full attention. I really want to see where they go with this. So oh my friend. Yeah,
absolutely. And real quick, I think the intrigue with that movie is because Judy Garland. So that's my
Yeah, I saw it once. I don't know why we have to watch it again.
There you go. I agree. So you said, "Oh my," I said, "Oh hell yes."
Yeah, that's right.
And thank you everyone for joining. Right. Like, subscribe, rate, review. Be careful in this insane of a blue dot we call world.
Ooh, Great reference. I like that reference. I'm so stoked that you made it through the episode. Keep on, rocking and rolling and doing what you do in the free world. Give us some of your favorite album picks. You can do so anonymously if you'd like. Just be like, hey, delete this real quick, but check out this album and we'll do that for you. If you don't want us calling you out on recommending a shitty album, or hey, if you want to, we're cool with that too. Anyways, you know the drill. Yo, my. Oh, hell yes. Oh, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You think my wife's going to be mad because I talk shit about the Christmas movies?
Did she really like that movie that much, though?
I mean, I don't know if it's her. I don't know.
Is there a lot of Christmas
I try to get a little
though?
drunk.